These are some of the biggest training mistakes you can make on your bike. And I think every one of us has experienced one or two of these at least once on their cycling journey. If you watch this video, hopefully you won't experience any of them. Let's do it. First up, don't set yourself a goal based on unrealistic time available, because the reality is you'll really struggle to juggle everything when you get into the real kind of tough parts of your plan. Instead, I think a good piece of advice is to try and set more realistic kind of training goals based on time that you can achieve without kind of starting to feel stressed out and like it's getting all on top of you. You can turn this to at specific times, be it for a week or two at a time, but leave it at that, not the entire plan. Don't base things if you've got all the time in the world, because when it comes to putting it all into practice, the reality definitely isn't true. Oh, right. Might feel like you're being lazy, but actually, recovery is the most important part of your training. Just getting in a nice, easy ride to the cafe, super easy, barely even pushing on the pedals, is one of the most important rides that you can do in your training, because it is so easy to get caught up in always pushing hard, always trying to train as hard as you possibly can. But if you're not recovering from all that, you're not going to make any improvements. And in actual fact, you're probably going to end up pushing yourself so hard that you wound up sick, injured, or maybe just so burnt out that you can't contemplate any more training in the first place. Recovery, do not underestimate it. Make it the cornerstone of your training and always get enough of it. At the end of the day, it's all about having fun and enjoying yourself. And any training that takes away from that, in my opinion, isn't worth doing. I think you really need to remember what you're doing it for in the first place. And I think a tip that I often used was to kind of set aside one or two rides where I didn't worry about power, I didn't worry about my progress. I just headed out on the bike and enjoyed riding, a nice long spin. And I think that is key. Make sure you're still enjoying it. Make sure you're doing things that keep your riding fun. At the end of the day, that is going to make you faster than if you're getting worried and stressing about your progress. Another mistake is to get caught up by just keeping track of one metric when you're riding. So FTP is probably the most well-known and biggest out there that people use to keep track of how they're doing on the bike. And I think by just focusing on that is a bit of an error, because you get caught up in just trying to improve that number. And really, there's so many other aspects of your riding that you could potentially work on, not just in terms of power, like you can step away from the training side of things and examine things like your nutrition, your bike fit, how much recovery you're getting. And actually looking at these things can make a much bigger difference to your riding and your performance than just worrying about your power output. Big mistake is not remembering to train for actually what you're training for. So there's so many different areas in cycling, so many different areas of performance which you can kind of lean towards. And if your event is maybe short, but you love doing long rides, you love heading out doing long rides, that maybe isn't going to tally with what you're actually aiming for. So make sure that you get your training specifically designed towards what you want to improve on, and not get sidetracked wasting time by training for things that actually aren't going to apply to the event which you're targeting. Going all guns blazing at the start of any training plan isn't the best idea. I know it's easy to do, I've been there before. Your motivation's high, you're ready to get going, you've got all the energy in the world. But trust me, this is a time you need to relax, kind of hold yourself back. It's quite a long journey to where you're going. You don't want to overdo things at the start. Because I tell you what, you'll reach a point when suddenly you realise you're absolutely buckled. So rein it in, keep it steady, and build up slowly. That's the best plan. Woo! Not putting yourself in a box from the start. What you really don't want to do when you're training is ignore any markers of fatigue. So when you're starting to feel tired, the fatigue's starting to build up to a point when you're putting yourself at risk of getting sick easier and everything just kind of falling off a cliff. Personally, this has happened to me at times when actually I've been in my best shape possible, my best possible form, and you kind of just want to keep on pushing, want to keep on riding, and you feel like another couple of rides, another week, and you'll get even better. But at the same time, you're starting to feel a bit more irritable, you're starting to lack the sleep a bit more, not sleeping as well. And also you're noticing the fatigue. It's getting a bit harder as well in the legs. These are the kind of markers you need to pay attention to, and it's that time when you really need to back off, take things easier and rein it in. Don't be too rigid in your approach to training. So for example, if you're following a plan, don't rigidly stick to every single day as if it's kind of like the Bible. You want to still allow a bit of flexibility to your approach to training. So be able to switch days around, be able to adapt on the day to how you're feeling, and if you're feeling able to do a certain session or if you're not, being able to move that to a different day during the week. I think overall you need to be able to listen to your body and understand when is the best time to push forward and when's best to hold it back. You're never going to be able to predict how you're going to feel in 4, 5, 6 weeks time. So when it gets to that day that you've written down from ages past, you need to be able to know that if it's the right thing for you at that specific moment. Be able to adapt, improvise and improve. Forgetting to mix things up is another error that you can make. Personally, I've been here before, so when I was racing, I was often based in Ireland and it wasn't always possible to train with other riders, so I often found myself riding alone a lot of the time. In the build-up to Giro d'Italia, I actually thought I could train myself into the best shape possible by doing these sort of rides. Kind of done it in the past, but for a race like that, it was near enough impossible. I missed that kind of top-end speed, and I lacked that in the first week of the race. Really, I should have pushed to ride with more riders or push my team to get into a race where I could have built up that speed. You don't get that on your own, you get it when you're with others. So for me, I think a big mistake you can make with your training is just focusing on one thing. For me, that was riding on my own. You need to mix things up. That doesn't just apply to pros, it applies to anyone too. So mix things up in terms of what you're doing. Hilly rides, flat rides, riding group, get on your cyclocross bike or get off-road. Whatever it may be, variety's the spice of life. There you go then, a few training mistakes to try and avoid whilst you're training to your goals. And I think I've experienced pretty much all of these at one point or another, but if I've missed any, please let me know in the comment section down below and share them with the GCN community. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Good luck with whatever you're training for.